Hey everybody, it's Audrey. It's been a little while. We've been battling a couple colds and just lots of stuff going on at home, so I'm glad to be back to share another process video. This is for the Creative Scrappers sketch this month. It's sketch number 300. Amazing. It's a fun grid design. I love working with grid designs because it takes a lot of the guesswork out of creating a page, and it's fun to decorate all the different squares. So just lots of possibilities. So I am working with some Halloween photos, and I have printed my photos to about 3¼ inches square, and I have two of them, and they are from my son's Halloween costume last year, and he wanted to be a mummy, and I have no idea why. I don't know where he even learned about mummies, but that's what he wanted to be. So I am going to use the two photos, and I'm going to pick, I picked a piece of paper for my center square, which is where I plan on putting my title, and then I wanted to have 3 orange squares to balance it out. So I'm going through my stash of papers. So I pulled out a whole bunch of Halloween papers. I keep all my Halloween stuff together, and these are some old, there's a lot of old stuff in here. This orange piece of paper right here is from an old SEI collection. I used to be on the SEI team years ago, so this is like 4 or 5 years old. Actually, it might be older than that. And then I have some Pebbles 31 and last year's Bella Boulevard Halloween line. I can't remember off the top of my head what it's called, but anyway, it felt really good to go through my stash and to dig some stuff out here. So my thought was I was going to recreate the mummy look on 3 of these black squares. So the 3 black squares on the edge, not the one in the center. So I just cut some strips of white cardstock, some really thin ones. I'm just cutting them by hand because I don't want them to be perfect. And I'm kind of wrapping them around these black cards. And I'm distressing the edges a little bit with my scissors. And then you can see that piece right there, the end kind of ripped off, and I was going to tear it off. I'm like, ooh, I kind of like how that looks kind of hanging down. It kind of looks like, the mummy fabric hanging off. So that's what I'm going to do on all 3 cards. Now, I originally was just going to wrap these strips around and then just glue them down to the back and then stick the square on the page. But then I decided that I wanted to add some stitching too. So I do go back and add some stitching, and I kind of do it in layers. So I started with 3 strips on the bottom. You just saw right there. I stitched them, and then I went and added a couple more strips on top, and I stitched them. So this took me a little bit of time. I'm not going to show you the whole process because that would be repetitive and boring. But actually, I really liked how this came out. It was really fun to kind of create that look. So I just folded the strips over to the back, glued them down, and then that's it. And I did that on all 3 cards. Years ago, gosh, probably when I first started scrapbooking, actually it may have been my very first album I ever made. So 11 or 12 years ago, I made a scrapbook page, a Halloween page. It was kind of like a mummy page, and I actually used toilet paper on it, and I wrapped toilet paper around parts of my page to make it look like strips of fabric. So I should probably go check and see how that looks now. It's probably all disintegrated, but anyway, I thought it was creative at the time. So okay, so these strips are all stitched down, and then I went through and I kind of roughed up the edges of the strips a lot. And I decided to leave some of the threads dangling off to kind of give it more of that frayed look. Once I had these cards done, I realized they were very strong on the page. They were a very strong design element, and they kind of, I think your focus goes immediately towards them. So I wanted to add some black cardstock behind my photos to help them pop off a little bit more. I usually try to make my photos really stand out above everything else on the page, but in this case, I really think those cards kind of pop off more than the photo, but that's okay because it helps reinforce the theme. So for my center square, I was looking for a piece of purple paper. I wanted some contrast against the black and orange and green, something a little bit brighter to help the title pop, and I was going to make into a circle and put the circle on top of the center square. So I only found 2 pieces of purple paper in my Halloween stash, so I went ahead and cut out a circle for that. And then I had to decide how to decorate my orange squares. And this is fun because I knew that I was just going to use these 3 orange squares for embellishments. And you notice how I have the squares arranged. There's one in each column and in each row, so that kind of helps create a visual triangle. So I am really digging through my stash. These are some old, really old My Mind's Eye cards. I had some old Jelly Bean Soup things in here, some older Bella Boulevard. So I'm just digging through a whole bunch of stuff and finding things to fit on these cards. That skull and crossbones at the top is from a My Mind's Eye collection, probably from about 7 years ago. And I really liked it, but it was a tad bit yellow compared to the really bright white of my mummy strips. However, the little tag that says "Give me candy" on the left and the little journaling card I'm working on right now had a tinge of yellow as well. So I wasn't really concerned about that too much contrasting with the white, as long as I had 3 yellowish things to help complete that look. For my journal card here down on the bottom right, I took that square and just wrapped a journaling card around it. And to make it fit the square, I added a little sticker. It's hard to tell here. It looks like pluses and X's, but it's actually little bones. And then a brad. These brads are the ones that are actual brads with the little prongs in the back, and I don't even bother with those anymore. I just cut the prongs off with my scissors, and you can break them off too if you just wiggle them back and forth a lot. And then these are actual little tiny brads that I haven't used in forever either, and I decided to decorate the corners of that little "Give me candy" tag to kind of just make it a little bit more decorative. And I put it on black cardstock, and I'm just cutting it out because it wasn't really standing out against the orange card, so I wanted to put it on there, and that looks so much better with that little black border on it. So that's pretty much how I'm going to lay out the page, and again, I'm just going to continue to add some embellishments here and there. Something that was really bothering me was I felt that the skull was just kind of floating in that one square up there, so I need to fix that. And even now looking at it, I'm like, ugh, I just need something more up there. I wanted to add a little bit more of a pop of black to these squares. So I found some bat stickers, and I just add some foam dots to the back of the bat stickers, and I'm popping them off the corners of the cards. I love doing Halloween pages. I have so much Halloween stuff though. I'll never use it all. I usually only do, maybe 1 or 2 Halloween pages a year, one for each child's costume, so I don't think I'll ever get through all this stuff. But it's fun to have, and I'm sure I'll probably still end up buying more at some point. Okay, so I think I have figured out what that skull and crossbones needed in the top corner there, and that was a little pop of black. So I decided to add a little scrap of black cardstock behind the head part to make the eyes and the mouth stand out, and that to me made it so much better. That's exactly what it needed, just those little bits of black showing through the eyes and the nose and the mouth. I had a little helper down there in the corner. He wanted to see what the page was about. He was excited to see his costume again. Okay, so to make this circle stand out a little bit more, I just went and added some white dashed lines around the edges. And I'm looking for some stickers to make my title. And at first I was going to use these white stickers, but they were way too big. And then I found these kind of greenish ones. They're old sassafras last stickers. They're kind of a little bit glittery, but they really match the background paper good, and the green really stood out great against the purple, so I decided to go with these. They hang off the edge of the circle a little bit, which bugs me a tiny bit, but it's okay because it's still kind of fit inside the square. So I just went ahead with that, and then I'm going through this pack of letters, and it's actually a whole pack of Halloween stickers and such, and just adding in the little words for the rest of my title, which is I want my mummy. Of course, I had to do a play on the words with mummy. And that about wraps it up, I think. The only thing left that I really do is, well, obviously I haven't glued one thing down yet, so you're thinking, how could she be finished? But I just do my gluing the very last thing. But I did go back and add in some stitching lines for the grid. So I wanted to add the grid itself. So I start by measuring out. I'm not usually a big person about measuring and making things exact, but because of a grid design, has kind of specific proportions, I really wanted to make the center card in the center. So I actually went through and measured and put my card in the center, and then drew the grid lines around it, and then stitched over them to create the, with some black thread to create the stitching lines. So I've got those lines drawn and stitched. I erase any leftover pencil. I go through and glue down all my squares. They're all put together. And the only thing else I add is my journaling. And I do add some stickers with the date. I was going to use my date stamp, which I usually use, but I decided just to add some stickers on there. I ended up tilting my photos a little bit too. Again, another way to help bring focus to them and not the other squares on the page. So the tilt definitely helps draw your eye there. And here is the finished page. Grid designs are so much fun. I just love this. And some close-ups of the roughed up mummy strips and stitching and some fun brads. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you're able to participate in sketch number 300 for creative scrappers, and please share with us on the blog. Have a good one.